All right, welcome everyone to another week of BC Sandpile. Thank you for showing up today and participating. Okay, so I had to just mute my my other screen there. So this week we're going to talk about a care package or a support plan or really whatever it is you want to call it, and see if we can help you decide to do one if you're not already doing one. Maybe get some advice from folks that already have some in place, and maybe get some best practices and see what we can figure out from that perspective. With us this week as a panelist is Barry Alt from A to Z. What is it? A to Z Enhanced Solutions?
Too long. Enhanced Digital Solutions. It's on that sheet.
A to Z Enhanced Digital Solutions. Thanks to Barry for coming out and participating. He's done some work in this aspect and has some good work already done that he's willing to share, which is great. We did kind of have a session a few weeks or months back with where Barry participated, and we didn't think we really covered it quite as well as we could have in the time allotted. So we thought we'd come back and have another go at it. So welcome for that. Let's maybe first, I'll jump into the news here and we'll cover a few things. Just wanted to let you know that there is a R228 system update. I wish I could tell you precisely what was happening there, but if you're not aware, I'll put this link in the chat if I can find it. There it is. So it's just it looks like some system stuff. So updated the admin console, fixed a bug that was preventing the shopping cart lifetime from being updated, something with the CNAME, something with the DNS. Just really, I let you know so that you have an awareness that these system updates happen. You can certainly go to the blog and to the forum to get this information and dig deeper in it if you want to. Sometimes these releases actually fix things that the community's been waiting for, but as of late, it's been largely some bug fixes and some other enhancements. On the BC Academy side, there's a dynamic menu with featured links is going to come out this week, and that's done by Brian from BC Academy. So we're looking forward to that. And if we go to the BC App Store and look at the updates there, Scott Reynolds from Thrize released his form transfer and web app transfer again last week. So those are really cool tools. I use the web app transfer all the time, and I've just got the form transfer as well. So for those that don't know, lately I've been building the BC Gurus templates and created on the US site, and then I have to recreate it on the EU and AU data centers. And moving all that stuff across, these transfer apps have been super for that. I also use them when we build a site for a client and they don't want us, they want to continue to use the same site that they have, but they want us to build in development and then move it over. So then I use these tools for that as well. We build these sites out on the development side. When they're ready to go live, we use these transfer apps to bring them live. Card Assistant Pro, that came out a while ago. Visual Content Finder, make sure you have a look at that. That's a super tool that our clients are just really loving. Dynamic Slider built by CBO. I haven't looked at that myself, but that's out. And the new one here is this Zapier integration from CBO. So, So Mike covered that a little bit last week, and it looks to be like just a super tool for connecting into through an API basically into other applications and connecting your data together. Slack notifications, we're using it for that. So definitely worth a look on that. I am not as versed on it as Mike would be, and Mike is away this week, so you just have me. But definitely getting your stuff into Facebook, into other external CRM, Salesforce, I see is noted there, Infusionsoft, HubSpot. So it looks like a really good integration tool. Now I have misplaced my chat window, so just give me a moment to find that.
Dave, it should be at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
the button to open it up.
yeah. No, once you start sharing it, it goes away. I do not see it. I do not see it anywhere.
Hop out of your share for a second.
Um, Maybe I'll just rely on you. If you see something I should answer, Barry, if you could just interrupt me and let me know.
Yeah, I got it. I got them running in another window so I can watch.
And then finally, on the BC Gurus front, there's a new tips and tricks out this week, how to create opt-ins for marketing campaigns. And that's from our own Ursula Richards from Online IQ. So thanks, Urs, for that. It's a first-time contribution to BC Gurus, it says here, although it seems to me you did one a while back, Urs. Maybe you can clarify. But certainly, welcome back to the BC Gurus front, and we're looking forward to that tutorial coming up this week. So that is that news. And I think that is all I have for news. Does anybody else in the community have news they'd like to share? Don't see anything, Barry?
Just a lot of comments about CBO's release and that everybody likes it. So
cool. Yeah, that's I'm looking forward to digging a bit deeper into that. So I don't know what the heck happened to my. I'm going to do what you said. Just jump out of the share for a sec and pray that that won't chat.
it's usually on the bottom. It's always been on the bottom for me.
Okay.
And it pops it. If you're full screen, it pops it into another window.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. It came back when I stopped the screen share, but it is largely gone.
There you go. Huh.
Yeah, no, I don't know. That's you can see my window there.
Yeah, there's a button on the bottom next to contacts that says chats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but I can see it doesn't do anything. Huh?
No. Oh man. Well, I apologize, folks. This will maybe take me a minute to figure out. There we go. Okay, I think I found it.
Don't you love new technology?
Yes, yes. Okay, so let's get into this. Care packages versus a support plan. I guess my first question that I had noted here is, what's the difference? What's the difference between a care package and a support plan? Do you have an opinion on that, Barry?
Well, you know, for years I've been doing this since '97, and for years I've resold hosting as a markup, and really I marked it up, and I didn't have even have a support plan unless somebody hired me on a retainer to do updates. If customer had a problem with email or the site was broke or whatever, I just took care of it and took and corrected the issue. But I call it a care plan instead of a support plan because I think I don't know if there's a big difference other than it sounds more customer friendly as far as the wording that I used, why I'm calling it a care plan. One of the big things that I found out over the last year and a half is that I've been kind of commoditized because I've been selling hosting, and customers relate that to $9.99 hosting or whatever at GoDaddy. So, I can get into more detail of why I did it in detail. So,
sure, well, that'll come out for sure.
Yep.
Words make a difference. I feel like care package versus support plan. They have different connotations to me. I think a care package. To me, it speaks to the intent. So, what is the intent of a care package versus the intent of a support plan? To me, a support plan sounds more technical, where a care package sounds more business focused. Does that?
Right, and I agree. And the big thing too is, with that commoditization thought is that a lot of our customers will look, for me anyways, was looking at me as I'm the tech guy. I'm not, they never thought of me as a marketing person or an agency or whatever. Maybe that was partially my fault, but anything you can do to change that, I think, will help.
Yeah, sorry, I'm playing with my interface here again. So I don't know what happened. I lost you. There you go. So care package support plan, I don't think it matters so much what you call it, as long as you understand the intent of it and what you're trying to accomplish with it. That's probably the message I would take out of that. So if you have a care package or if you have a support plan, so what's the opinion of the audience there? Do you package your hosting with it? Just type quickly in the chat there, just included, not included, or some variation. Let's see if we can get a few answers there. See what people are thinking.
Yeah, do you have support plans, period?
Well, if you have them, yeah, it's assuming that you do have them, but do you package your hosting with it? So Tova's starting to. My personal preference is I do not package the hosting with it. I prefer to keep it separate, but I know lots of folks do package it up. So yeah, lots of folks are separating them.
Yeah, and I can explain why I'm going away from that.
Cool. Let's just another second here. For the most part, I'm looking at not included, not included, not included. Trying to stay away from being the IT guy. That's from A3 Creative. Yeah, thanks for that. The hosting is viewed as billable, or again, hosting is viewed as, to me, as technical, whereas the other is viewed more as customer care. So, what do you think, Barry? Go ahead.
That's another thing. I like I said, I felt I got commoditized because I lost a client because they thought I was just their hosting provider. I built their website. They went someplace else. I didn't even get an opportunity to bid the project because they thought I was just their hosting provider. And I look at that as I'm competing with all the cheap hosting out there. And so I want to look at it more as we're doing more for you than just hosting your website. I've had so many customers ask me, what does that mean? What do I get with that? I've had customers come back to me years later and say, well, aren't you doing updates for that $60 a month you charge me? And that's not listed on this sheet, but right now the old web commerce plan, the base plan, I was charging $60 a month for. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that answers your question.
No, I get what you're saying, and to me, it comes back around to this care package versus a support plan, or being a business partner as opposed to being a business contractor. So if you're talking hosting plans and support plans, to me, you come across as a contractor, someone they would hire. Whereas if you're talking care packages and care plans, to me, then you're coming across, I think, more as a business partner. You're trying to help them with their business,
right?
And that's how, as you say, you got commoditized there. That makes a difference to me. So I think words do matter, and I'll keep bringing it back around to that. What about backups? Now, and I'm looking at here. Well, at some levels, you include that, but what does the group think?
Well, yeah, let's see what they say, and I can explain why this is broken out, why it is, and how I ended up here.
Yeah, why don't you go through that while we're waiting for some responses?
Okay, so the whole care plan, support plan, I just like to call it care plan, started. The thought of it started because I've been interfacing with a lot of web WordPress agencies. They obviously have to do a lot more than we do because of the WordPress updates and the plugin updates and all that. And a lot of them, and you have a tab on your screen from a WordPress developer that does exactly that. Mm-hmm. They're packaging it into care plans. Left Right Labs, I think I saw you had the tab is up there. So they did that, and I looked at what they were doing, and until SSL became an option, I never looked at it. It's like, how can I do this? How can I do what the WordPress people do and make it more of a something that customers would look at as this? You're more than just a techie guy or a hosting guy. And then the SSL has come about with Business Catalyst, and also looking at backups. I've always used Backup BC on a lot of my sites. Would like some automation, maybe that's coming, but with so much about SSL being important and so much about hacking and people thinking about hack, I know I've never had a BC site hacked yet, but your customers, you talk to your customers about that. I looked at it, look, instead of offering hosting, you're going to get this package. And if we look at my sheet up here, the ProCare Plus, okay, it is the gold plan, I believe is what that one is. And that comes with a half hour of support every month. So that's a little income for my part. It doesn't renew, it doesn't carry over. And it comes with the backups, which I always do on a lot of less sites, but they don't know that. And SSL setting and a setup. When I have a new customer, I don't have that 250 to 500, and I'm still working on that, what that should be. Okay, I still not 100% sure on that, but the whole point is to offer them a package that is more of taking care of them, looking out about for the security of their website, looking out for the backups of their website, and being there to support them, even if it's a half hour of support. Okay, and all of these, the backup, the SSL, has a markup involved in it. Okay, so I know a lot of BC partners either don't want to deal with that and have Adobe bill them directly, or they just push the money through. And if it's $38.88 or whatever the web commerce used to be, they just charge a customer $38.88. I've never ever not made money on hosting, and it's not a core moneymaker for me, but it does take care of that tech support call even before the care plans. Take care of that tech support call or whatever. So, and it actually helped in the downtimes back in the Great Recession for me. So, anyways, okay. But that's how I came up with these care plans. So, look at how can I package something up that is more of a service to say. Not a service, but a way to say, hey, I'm looking out for your best interests, and I'm there all the time to support you.
Yeah, well, and of course the utopia is this whole recurring revenue model, and that's Tova mentioned that in the comments there, that this is really what we're all trying to maybe look at these care plans for, so that you don't have to go find the next site. You have some level of income coming in on a regular basis. Now I'll just carry on my list of questions here. So I hesitate to mention it because I know it's a bit of a rabbit hole, but how do you feel about including email? I know lots of people are just pushing email out to Google. Very few people still have it in BC. I know I do, but lots of people don't. What do you think?
What I think, it really depends on the customer. I've been doing this since '97. Back in the day, a lot of my customers, I did their first website. They needed email, so that was awesome. I could be the all-in-one provider. And right now, I shun email. I cannot stand email. I'll do anything to push them to, recommend to them that they either stay with their current provider. And a lot of the companies that I've been working with already have Outlook 365 or Google. They're using that. That's been great. So it's, hey, keep that. If they don't, and they're like a small shop, yeah, I'll put them on. If they said, gee, I just think it's better, we'll put them on BC's email. But if I look back over the years on the time I spend on support, it's email, because I build my sites to work. I do all this stuff to make sure I don't have to do support and deal with issues. So yeah, I shun email. I'll tell you, it's just, either I see the comments in about, BC email versus G Suite, Outlook 365. G Suite and Outlook 365 is where I send the customers if I can. But there's some customers out there that they can't afford it. They just can't. So I do go with BC if I have to.
Fair enough. Yeah. A3 Creative is saying specifically that bandwidth limitations are forcing him to push his email clients out to G Suite and Outlook 365. So, and the higher end clients, if they're running out of space, I mean, I had a they sold Pandora charms. If you want to look at it that way, it wasn't really Pandora's, but it was charms, and there was only 6 people on staff. But because of the amount of email they were going through, they were constantly running up against limits. So I can certainly see it doesn't take much to hit the limits on, I think, on some of these things.
Yeah. Tova, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right. It says, is there any value on putting them on G Suite and charging them for setup and monthly fee? Absolutely. I think there is. To me, when I started with Business Catalyst, I signed up for the premium white label. That's what I wanted to do. I sold it, and I still sell it as an Adobe product. I don't sell it as a Business Catalyst because I don't need them questioning, oh, well, if I go directly, now since they changed it especially, I don't need them questioning me, why do you charge me 60 when it's only 38.88 or whatever the new prices are now? I don't need to deal with that. And when you talk about email and things like that, if I can white label it or be the administrator of it and tie it into something and make some money on it, absolutely. I mean, I have customers I do streaming video for and use a couple of platforms, and I mark that up too because I don't want to be on YouTube. Some of the ones that I have.
Sure. I think more on this later when I get to what I call my service, and maybe my opinion of email will come clear, which is fine. So one thing I want to ask the community is, if you're doing care packages or support plans, or whatever you want to call them, do you mention software updates? And I say that because your competition does. So Barry and I were talking earlier this week, and if they're mentioning software updates, you can see in this WordPress support plan, they're mentioning software updates, and you don't. Unless you explain to your customer why you don't, they may think that you're not including it, and they're getting better value from this other proposal. So what are folks in the community doing? And what do you do, Barry? Do you specifically mention software?
Hang on, I'm reading. Let me see what's Toast says. Sorry about all the questions, but Barry, do you do consolidated billing? I don't do. I do all the billing myself. I like to control that. Absolutely control anything that has to do with money. Okay. As far as Dave, what was the question?
Do you include software updates, or do you mention software updates in your care plans, or at least speak about it with your clients so that they know they're going to?
I do. I mention it specifically when if I'm selling a new customer and when we're going into a proposal. We try not to. What we've gone away from is talking about technology as much as we can. But we do get into talk about content management systems and things like that, and I do talk about all the things that are built into Business Catalyst. And I do get into the fact that, hey, you can go to some of these open source ones without, I might mention WordPress, but you can talk about some of these open source ones that we have to manually update. Our care plans would be even more than they are now, okay? But the automate, we don't have to worry about that because it gets done by Adobe. Okay. So that's what I do tell them that.
Yeah, I think you need to mention it, I guess, is what my point is. If you're gonna have a package like this, you should at least talk about software updates and the fact that they're taken care of by Adobe, and they are getting done on a regular basis. Now, they don't need to know what those software updates are, but the fact of the matter is they're happening, and they're not going to be charged for them. They're included in your plan, if you will. I
didn't do that, and I should do that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, you should mention it. What about ads and changes? Do you include them, like content updates or blog posts, or even new work? Do you include that in your package, or do you offer a discount? Do you offer like a package of hours they can buy? What do you do?
Is that for me?
Sure.
Well, the care plans have a basic. My Pro Care Plus has a half hour of support, and that means anything. If they want to update something, if they have a change, if they want to add a page, they want to add images to their gallery. I basically told the customer, I'll do anything, for that. I have never charged the customer if their email's not working or the website goes down and I have to contact Adobe. I'm not charging the customer for that. I really feel that's part of what they're paying and the part of this that's they're hosting. So that half hour of support, maybe it should be, I should name that different too, but that's anything that they want. And I don't have any other packages per se, other than if I sell them a retainer where they're going to need us to do a lot of updates. I know a couple WordPress people that I know have a care plan like Left Right does here, but they also offer um, blog updates. Okay, so they'll offer X amount of blog updates within that care plan. So there's all sorts of different ways you can package a care plan. You just have to think how you want it to work.
Sure.
The big thing is understanding the hours that are in here don't roll over from month to month.
Yeah, well, this is where my opinion varies, and I'll express it, and then we'll see how bad I get roasted here. Phil's got some questions going in chat. So this one offers 30 minutes. This one offers up to 2 hours. This one offers up to 5 hours. I see in yours, you're doing a half hour here or an hour there. I call mine unlimited help desk support, and I charge accordingly. I don't charge a huge amount of money, and granted, my clients are smaller in nature, but I started out by saying it included an hour or 2 hours of support each month. And I found a couple of things. Either people would call just because they had it, and they'd ask you to do silly things because they had this hour or 2 hours a month and they wanted to use it up, or they think, oh my God, I don't want to call because I might need that later this month. And then when they finally do call, they're upset because they've got so much stuff that was broken. So quite a while back, a few years back, I started to call it unlimited help desk. And I said, as long as you're within the guardrails of what I'm offering, which means I'm going to, I lay it out for them. I'm going to fix things. I'm going to update content. I'm not going to add content. If you didn't buy e-commerce initially, I'm not going to set up a store for you. But if you wanted something changed on the about page, or you wanted to reorganize some information, or you want me to post blog posts, that sort of thing, I covered all that as unlimited. And over the years, I've discovered that I'm actually getting way less work to do that way and getting more money from it. So I personally have found great value in calling it an unlimited help desk. No, there's no hour, there's no half hour. It's really whatever you want. Now, you have to do a bit of work around describing what you'll include in that, but I give them pretty generous guardrails, and I've yet to be burned, and I think I've been doing that for about 4 years now. So I'd be interested to hear what you think about that, or what the audience thinks about that.
I think it's great. I think I obviously sometimes putting an hour or a half hour in there, let me back up. In an ad agency, or like a lot of us are in, whether you're a freelancer or a small agency or a small shop, a lot of us are going away from billing hourly, or even talking about hourly rates. Everything's packaged. This is how much this is how much this is, or whatever it works out when you do discovery with new customers. But so that makes sense to me. It's just how to explain it so they don't abuse it.
Yeah.
And,
well, that's what you have to overcome. And I learned this from the telecom world. I spent 25 or so years in the telecom world, and we had this debate over there, and it was, I worked with 2 companies, and one could not get over it. They were so worried that it was going to get abused that they would never do it, and their service program did not grow. The other company said, yeah, we can go for that, and this is how much it is. And if someone phoned, and they had restaurants where the chef would smash the phone off the wall because he was mad, he just replaced it. And, granted, after the 4th time, he went and talked to the owner and said, look, I've been pretty reasonable about this, but if it happens again, I'm not going to cover that particular phone. And there's nobody in their right mind would say, oh my God, I expect that to be covered. Because it's, that's the kind of the guardrail thing I saw in the questions there. Bill, I'll see if I can get to the text from my guardrails if you like. That's fine.
Yeah, I was going to ask for that too. I'm curious how you do that.
And how much do I charge? It depends on the client, but generally speaking, it's somewhere between $100 and $150 a month, not including hosting. So I deal with business coaches. I deal with keynote speakers. That level, it's usually a single person or maybe 2 or 3 people at most. Those guys are paying $100 a month. If I'm into an e-commerce site, then it's typically $150, sometimes a little bit more. So I kind of take a look at where the site's going and charge accordingly. Like for $150 a month, if they send me new products, now my guardrails are part of that is if you send me new products, don't send me half of it. Send me the name, the description, the prices, the images. Like they got to send me everything that needs to be posted, but I'll make sure it gets, and which catalogs they want it to go in. I'll make sure it gets loaded, right? And if they need help with gathering that information, I'll tell them exactly what they need. But so $100, $150 for the size of client that I'm dealing with. If I was dealing with bigger ones, I'd definitely charge more. And newsletters. Jack asked, in your case, I think you're including newsletters.
Yeah. So basically, when I talk to customers about this care plan, I do talk about, I have to talk about hosting or the business catalyst plan. And that's just, the newsletters that come with it. And some customers can handle it. Some customers turn to me. So it depends on the customer. I always, a lot of times with my new customers in my proposals, I have a retainer rate in there for 2 to 3 hours, depends on the customers, that covers X, Y, and Z, unless it's, I put guardrails on that too and say, you want a whole section of your site, and you need 10 new pages and you need a blog and all this. We have to come back to the drawing board, and put some numbers together. So
keep in mind too, and maybe this will help clarify for folks. By the time I hit the point where they've got a proposal in front of them, I've done a fair bit of discovery, so I have an appreciation for what they're trying to do. And if I think they're going to put out 5 newsletters a week, not that anybody's going to do that. Say they're going to put out 2 newsletters a week, or they plan to, and they need me to help them do that. Well, then sure, their unlimited help desk is going to go up. But generally speaking, by the time they're looking at my proposal, I have a really good understanding of what I'm going to include, or what they're going to try and accomplish. So I definitely have clients that do newsletters. Most of them are doing. The most frequent one is every other month. And she's real prodigious at it. Like she's been at it that way for 3 years or so, maybe even 4 years. Most of them do it for a bit and then drop off, and they either taper off or they drop right off with newsletters. It's hard to convince people to keep going, if you will. And Mary, that does not include hosting. I'm one of the ones that do not bundle hosting with my unlimited help desk. I've separated them, mostly because I didn't want to, if they didn't pay their bill, I didn't want to have to deal with them. When Adobe kicks them off and says, hey, if you don't pay your bill, your site goes down, I just point my finger at Adobe and say, it's them, not me. That's the way I prefer to deal with that. But I know lots of folks bundle it up. I think I got all the questions there.
And I'll say this, I'm not an expert at this by any means. This is very new to me. I've been working at kind of formulating this over the past 6 months, especially when SSL was announced, and I'm just starting to sell these or go back to current customers. Part of the reason there's 2 other columns there that don't have SSL and backups, because I have some smaller customers that are going to say, I don't want that.
Yeah,
and
sure.
I may not even, they might say, why am I might even not even go to them. So I'm in the process. I'm still formulating this, but I think it's the big thing with me was, like I said, is the commoditization of stuff and trying to not be looked at as the tech guy and look more as a partner with them for everything, all their marketing needs, web development, and business. We're getting a lot more into marketing strategies and things like that first before we even talk about web development.
Tova says she's telling all their clients that they need SSL no matter what now. And I can't necessarily disagree with that. I think that's the direction the industry's heading. I guess it's a matter of opinion as to at what pace is it going to become a significant factor. It's a factor already, but at what point can you just not afford not to do it, right?
Yeah, and I agree. And I haven't sent this. I have these plans in some new projects that I've sold, and I actually have an email already built that this is going to go out with that has a link that talks about how this new SSL will affect you. That shows what Google's Chrome's going to show in their browser. I have another link to talk about why you should, why it's important to make sure your site's backed up. I know they're going to ask, well, aren't you already backing my site up? Well, yeah, but not on a continual, every month maybe, but we're going to try to go into more of an automated thing. That's why I mentioned it to Joe about automated. So I want to just let it run and have it do its thing. but there's a cost for that, I think.
For sure. I like what you put in your plan here, and that's all plans going forward will be invoiced monthly with good credit card at the beginning of each month. So you're real clear about your billing practice there, and you're getting prepayment, which I think is a better approach than post.
Well, I've learned the hard way. You know, I'm a late adopter at credit card payments because I was always like, I don't want to pay that fee thing. Now and so we billed quarterly. And part of that was because my old hosting provider, that's how they billed us. But it was easier to do invoices every quarter than screw around every month, you know. It's hard enough chasing down them for the one invoice a quarter than every month.
Exactly, yeah.
So now I'm in the process of switching everybody over. I'm trying to switch all my customers over to credit card only. And then that's why I'm going back to the monthly. So that also helps with if you're billing a customer directly, and you do it monthly on a credit card, that money's constantly coming. You don't have these ups and downs if you're billing them quarterly like I was, or even semi-annually. I do offer a discount. I think it might be in there. I know I had one version that had a discount if they signed up, if they did a year. So
cool. I don't have this in a format where I can share it easily, but this is my virtual webmaster. So in my proposal, I say many of my clients, in fact, most of them have realized updating their site's not what they want to do. So I try and give them, and again, I call it guardrails. So it includes things like uploading, updating content, uploading blog posts or articles, providing basic photo adjustments such as cropping, resizing, loading your content into email newsletters. This is this particular client, right? But I use a variation of this all the time. Set up and management of auto response email series that they create because this particular customer was going to do that. And reviewing monthly reports and resolving errors that may come up. What does it not include? Introducing new functionality. So if e-commerce was not included in the original quote, I'm not setting it up for you at no additional charge. That's going to cost you. Items listed as future functionality. Elsewhere in the proposal, I say this is what you can do in the future. It's an extra cost. Actually writing blog posts, case studies, or news releases, I'm not doing that for you. So that's an example of the guardrails that I use. Hopefully that answers your question there. I'm just looking at the notes here. Yeah, Tove, I use, and Phil, I use Stripe as well. I've been using it for about 3 years and been real happy with it. In fact, just recently, I had someone, I've got an invoice payment page on my website, and I had some spammer pounding credit card transactions through there because I had it set for minimum $5. They were throwing $5 transactions through. They sent 7 through before I noticed the emails coming in, and 2 of them actually went through. So I contacted Stripe, got somebody live to phone me back within like half an hour, and he said, what they're doing is basically trying to find valid credit cards. So once they get those 2 transactions go through, then they'll go hit somebody else for several hundred or $1,000 once they find a valid one. So he talked me through how to reject it, and then Stripe marks that as a rejected credit card, and they can't use it on another site that takes Stripe. So I've been real happy with them for several years, and this last little thing just confirmed that for me. So what about training, Barry? Do you include training in your support plan?
No, when I take in, because I have a lot of customers that when I do a proposal, I have a training, I have a project enhancements section that they can pick and choose what they want. And it's everything from, extended SEO work or if they're not going to do content, it's content work. Sometimes I include the content in the price. It depends on the project, but I always have a training element to that. And it's either remote or on-site training, because I have a lot of customers, they don't want to manage their sites, and others do. And it's usually a 2-part training where I go in and train for an hour and a half, and then I come back a couple weeks later and train again because they'll always have a lot of questions. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the short is, yeah, I include that. And I'll be honest with you, quite a few of them will say, well, I'm not going to sign this right now. We'll see once the site goes live, we'll see if we even need it. But I always include it.
Okay. I included it in mine, and again, they might take it up for an hour, a couple hours at most, and then it invariably, even if they don't take my unlimited help desk in the first bit, they come back to it later because they realize I don't want to do this. And I say to them at the time of the proposal, I say, look, what are you good at? So if they're good at being keynote speakers or they're good at being business coaches, I say, well, I'm good at managing websites. So why don't we just stick with what we're good at, and stop believing you can save money by doing your own updates. It's false economy, is what I say.
Right. Do you, and I know you said this, but I just want to get more clarification on it. So your virtual webmaster, do you have a specific price you put on that then?
I do. It's a minimum 100, and it goes up from there based on what kind of functionality they have. If it's a complicated site, then I charge more. If they're using e-commerce, I charge more. Most of the clients that I'm dealing with are 10 to 15 pages. They're what I would call business card sites with minimal functionality. They're really, I call them mavens and mavericks, my customers. They're people that have been in an industry for 25, 30 years. They're retiring. They're going to hang their shingle, come out as consultants, and they want a website to promote themselves. That's the bulk of my client. That's what I've attracted over time, and that's what I'm dealing with. Right. So I just say, look, for $100 a month, you just don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's kind of, that's similar to offering a maintenance retainer or a support, not a site update, site care retainer that goes beyond. What I have in my plan are more basic stuff. It's not a lot, you know what I mean?
What I found, and maybe it's a function of these mavens and mavericks that I call them. Maybe it's a function of that, but they like the unlimited part of it. They like the no limit part, and they're from my demographic. They're my age, and they like that. I'm not saying you can have one of those or two of those. I'm saying you have whatever you need. And again, you gotta have that perspective that I describe my customer to you. What do you think that the odds are they're going to call me 15 times about something in a month? Slimmer none, right? It's just not that kind of clientele. So you really have to understand who you're building your site for. And if it is an e-commerce site, or it's got a lot of complexities, or even if it's just a brochure where you're loading products but they can't actually buy, but there's a lot of updates, well, then you better make sure you charge enough to cover that. But I've learned in the telecom industry over time, once you're getting enough regular income in from a month, you may get a heavy month from one client, but you get nothing from 5 other ones, which covers your costs on that. And overall, you do quite well. Now we're getting a little bit low on time. I want to make sure 2 things in particular I want to mention that may not have been mentioned before. And this comes definitely from the telecom world. So DC Tel is one of my friends from the telecom industry, and they call them a partner program there. So they do a few things there that I think are real smart. One of them is they offer a priority response. So priority queue to the part what they call the partner operations center, which is just a different line on the phone, but they give them a specific 800 number, and it makes them feel special. So they feel they're getting priority handling. In the back end, well, you handle that however that makes sense to you, but they need to feel like they're getting a priority queue there. Priority scheduling of ads, moves, and changes. So again, you have to deliver on it. So you can't just say it and not do it. But that priority part really resonated with that particular client group, and I feel it would resonate really well with website clients. The other thing they do is this promise of performance, which you may or may not be brave enough to do. So they got a nice badge there, that's fine. But it says our partnership program offers the following quality of service guarantee. So they will give you a $250 check if they exceed the 4-hour major emergency response time. So if someone's on this program, from the time they get a call, if they don't have a technician on site in 4 hours, they give them a check for $250. It's been running that for 3 years, hasn't had to write a single check. But how do you think these people feel when they see that? What do they think they feel about these people's efforts to try and make them feel special, or make them feel like a priority customer? So I thought that's pretty cool. And the one final thing these guys do, which I think you should absolutely consider, Barry, and anybody else in the audience, is they send what they call zero cost invoices. And what they found over time is, just like you said, you got commoditized. So what they do is even in my unlimited help desk, if I get a call and I do 15 minutes work or half an hour work for somebody uploading blog posts, or maybe I do their newsletter for them, I send them an invoice that shows them what it would have cost them and then I show covered by unlimited help desk, and the net value is 0. But it does a couple of things. It shows them value on a consistent basis. So they don't just pay for this month after month and wonder, what am I paying for? They see it on a regular basis. Plus, and I think someone mentioned it in the chat earlier, it gives you top of mind presence in their life and in their ecosphere, if you will. So they get an invoice and they and right away they go, what's this? Oh, it's 0. Oh, I like that. Makes them feel happy, but it definitely shows them the value that they're receiving from your whatever you want to call your care plan. So Barry, in particular, I would suggest you look at doing that. I know, people writing zero cost invoices is a bit of a pain in the ass, but over time, I think that's what stops you from being commoditized. I think that's the kind of thing that shows them the value of the program and keeps you top of mind. So you don't just get shoved off to the side when someone more aggressive contacts your customer. So I'm wondering what folks think about that. I see Barry loves it. You lost. Did you have a cat come in the room there or something?
Yeah, I muted it. My cat was talking. Yeah.
Nice. So yeah, if folks have an opinion of that, those are the 3 things I could think you can take from the telecom world that are working really well. This priority queue, this promise of performance, and this 0 cost invoicing. Whatever else you might think is fine, but I thought those were definitely portable to this industry. I'm just looking through my notes here. So, in your opinion, Barry, is your care package a support tool or a marketing tool, or perhaps both?
That's a good question. I think it's more of a support tool, but I think I have always been, I've been bad at continuing to be connected, keeping myself top of mind, like you said. Mm-hmm. So I think this maybe forces me to do that more and pushes them to keep in touch with me more, maybe because they know that, hey, I'm going to do some work for them every month and they're paying for that. But I don't know if it's a marketing thing. I know when I look at Left Right Labs, and when you showed up there on their website, it seems more like I think they call it support, but I think it has some marketing language.
So to me, it's more of a marketing program, and I'll tell you why I feel that way. If I'm in front of a customer and I'm selling them a website, and that's all I'm really proposing to them, I think you look much different than if you show up and I sell my services as, let's talk about your business. Let's talk about what you're trying to accomplish. Like I say things like, you don't need a website. What you need is more customers. And a website is a way to get that. And then I talk about the discovery program, where I got a 20-page discovery document where we talk about nothing but their business before we get to where the website is. And then I talk about the aftercare program. So this is how we're going to make sure your website continues to perform. These are the measurements we're going to put in place. If you're trying to accomplish this, this, and this, here's the measurements that we're going to put in place to make sure, to check how we're doing against that and then adjust if we need to. So to me, it's much more powerful as a marketing plan than it is as call me when it's broken. I'm being glib there, but I think even in your own mind, you have to view it as a marketing tool. And that's going to make the shift in the way you communicate with your clients.
And as you say that, I look at the web support. Maybe I need to call that something else and actually include a monthly report on what their website's doing, whether it's just a Google Analytics automated report that you set up so they can see that coming in and that they see their traffic going up or down and the visits, so that, even though you can automate them, they're seeing that. So it makes it more of a marketing. So, you're in there.
Well, that frankly should go to you. You should go through it. And if all you do is circle things and go, looks like we're doing great, and you send it to them.
Great. That's a good idea. Yeah, I agree. Yep.
For however many minutes that takes, that's what that tool is for. Not just some automated thing that drops in their mailbox that is there with 50 other items of mail they got that morning, and they just don't know what to do with it, right?
Yeah, you got it. Good
they
idea.
Rely on you. So here's, again, we're getting close to the end here. I have one more idea that I'd love to see someone implement, because I think it's good. And again, this comes from the telecom world. So this same company, he's not currently doing it, but for a while, at his previous, he had a company in a different city, and then he bought this one in this city, and he hasn't quite got here yet. But he basically says for his partner program, every 5 years, he replaces the phone system as part of that, completely replaces it. Now, he charges enough for that, but he says it's so much a month, and every 5 years, I'll completely replace your phone system. So what do you think your customer would say if you said to him, hey, every 5 years, we're going to rebuild your website with the current technology, with the current standards, making sure everything is up to date. We're going to review all your content, and we're going to do that every 5 years or 4 years or 8 years or whatever that makes sense to you. What do you think you could charge for that? What is what in the chat there? Put what do you think you could charge a month for that, if you feel that would fly or not? So Barry, if you charged, I don't know, what would you have to charge? $200 a month? $100 a month?
My math isn't that good. I need to get a calculator out. But that, yeah. I mean, yeah, I like $500 a month seems more. Well, maybe not. Maybe $300.
Well, think about it now.
5 years, it depends on the time frame.
Exactly.
And the size of the website.
So your ProCare, $149. So you bump that up to $200, and that is $600 a month over 5 years. That's $3,000. Is that enough to rebuild their website? If not, make it $250. And that's, how much is that? That's $6,000. Is that enough to rebuild their website? But the fact is, for them, what the value is, does two things. A, they don't have to worry about doing all this again in 5 years. You're going to take care of that. It's all part of it. And B, what happens when Fred phones your customer and says, I can do your website for whatever. They don't care because you're going to do it for them. They've already paid for it. They're not going to leave you at 4 years because they've already invested 4 years in getting that new website in the 5th year, right? What do you think the chances are they're going to drop off your ProCare when times get tough if the carrot is that they're going to get a new website in 5 years? Now, Tova says she make it $500 a month minimum, maybe $399. So think about it, $400 a month. I'm not sure if you're including your package in there, but let's say $300 a month times 5 years. That's 60 months. That's $18,000, Tova. Do you really need that to rebuild their website? Maybe. Yeah, Mary finds exactly what I found. Like after 5 years, their site looks old, feels old. You know it's old. They know it's old. So to be able to go to them and say, hey, 5 years is up, time to redo this website, right? Have at her. The content's already done. You may have to review it. Maybe you got to find some new images. The page structure is already done. Maybe you got to design. Maybe you redesign it. Maybe you don't. Maybe you just use whatever the current framework is and you rebuild it. I would suspect if you had a 15 to 20 page site and you weren't doing anything but using the current framework, say it was Foundation 4 and you had to go to Foundation 6 and you were just rebuilding their site, I suspect you could do that for well under $2,000 if you weren't changing anything else. And Joe says we'll take a better salesman than me. And hey, Joe, listen,
Same here, Joe.
I've met you, man. I think you're a pretty good salesman. Yeah, Jack's got an excellent point. It says the present value of $400 per month is worth much more than in the future. So I'd gladly pay you Thursday for a hamburger today. But if you're getting $400 a month now versus, $400 a month 5 years from now, it's worth a lot more now than it is then. And you could make that whatever you want it to be. I'm not, I'm just tossing this out there as a really wild idea, but it worked for this guy. And he's going to implement it in this company as soon as he's able to. Like his customers did not leave. What does it cost? And it's a phone, right? So he knows how the phone system's programmed. It's just hardware. He gets a deal on the hardware. He buys it. He puts it in place, and he keeps any business that fails, he takes their equipment out. It goes in maintenance spares. He's not promising them brand new phone if their phone breaks. He's just telling them if their phone breaks, he'll replace it for his maintenance for his maintenance program, right? So it's all in this whole spares management, and then having his new equipment for when it comes time to replace it, right?
And that's all. I was thinking, well, that's all fine and good for phones because you have
Yeah.
30 phones, for example, and you're replacing out the phones and maybe reprogramming some of the
Yeah.
hardware or whatever. But on a website, say it starts out, you built the website, it was an $8,000 build, for
Sure.
example.
Yeah.
And then over 5 years, they've added numerous sections. Okay.
Sure.
With my experience in technology, it's not as simple as just putting a new template on it sometimes because geez, look what happened in the last 5 years with responsive. I would have had to start from scratch with some of these people because their sites weren't responsive.
Sure.
So I look at that. The first aspect of that is how much did the technology change as far as how do I, right now, if I could just do new templates and just apply the templates and leave the content, yeah, that's great with BC.
Mm-hmm.
But if I have to go through and all new technology, plus the customer over 5 years added 80 pages that we have to deal with certain things, you have to obviously take that into account.
Well, yeah. I mean, fair enough. But what are the odds, really? Look at your clients. How many of your clients added 80 pages?
No, I'm just putting.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's that fear. I get it. It's the fear, and it's the same thing as saying unlimited help desk versus you get 1 hour, you only get an hour because you're worried. You're worried they're going to abuse you, right?
Yeah, and I've been reading Mary's comments in here, and I'm with her on this. I think you have something there, and I think we'll take my care plan and light a match to it today, and rethink some of this because I think that's a great idea.
That's the whole point of this is to get you thinking about in a different way and get some experience from a different industry. Like I say, this comes from the telecom, but listen, how long have phone systems been around? They've had a lot of time to figure this shit out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we're just about out of time. The last thing I wanted to find out, just in general, is do you have a physical contract that you have people sign?
I do.
Yeah, you absolutely should. Sets expectations and it adds a level of professionalism. So in my opinion, you should absolutely have a physical contract that gets sent out, they sign and send back. And in that physical contract, you lay out your expectations, even if they're loose guardrails. But it says, I'm going to give you this, you're going to pay me this. And there's no...
we even do that for retainers. If I have a customer that suddenly has a lot of work and they want to hire us to do it over a amount of time and get on a retainer, that's a separate document. Mm-hmm. I actually have other ones where we've done a major change to their website, turn on e-commerce, for example. That's a separate contract, that spells out what we're going to do.
Yeah, definitely got to happen. I didn't for a while, and I didn't get burned, but I got into some situations that I was not comfortable with, and I came to recognize that having an actual contract would have resolved that, no problem. So we're right at the top of the hour. So I appreciate everybody's input and comments. I hope you found something in this. Maybe Mary's going to come back and tell me that she's implemented that program, and we'll reconvene in a few years and find out how it went for her. I think that's a pretty cool concept if you can find a way to do it and find a customer that'll see the value of that one that's been around for a long time. I know, Barry, you got some customers that have been around for a long time, and
oh yeah,
how many times? I think we got at least a couple there. You've redone their site 3 times, right?
Yeah, and we're doing one right now that we built the site in it's probably 15 years old.
Yeah. Now, Bill wants me to share my contracts and agreements, and I actually, if I'm being frank, I'm actually holding off because one of the things I want to cover in the future, I'm going to go through a proposal with Mike as my pseudo customer. So I'm going to actually go through step by step my proposal to a client. My proposal, I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's an amalgamation of everything I got from BC Gurus, U Gurus, the Graphic Designers Association of Canada, and 2 or 3 other sources. I've amalgamated into about a 7-page proposal, and it is killer. It really works well when I deliver it, and I'm happy to share it. But that's a future Sandpile coming up. Penny says she may not be around in 5 years. Come on, Penny, you'll be here. You'll be here. All right. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll stop the share now. You guys can stay in the room, and I'm happy to stay for a little while longer, but I'm going to stop the live stream now. And I appreciate your time and your participation.